Hello and welcome, adventurers! Today's story takes us back to the mist-covered lands of Barovia, and involves a small church in a tiny village, and what happened to my group when we entered the grounds. Again, I have to stress, if you've never played Curse of Strahd and wish to play the module blind, please click off this video. But if you're okay with learning about an aspect of the early game, feel free to stick around. Okay. Hopefully all the newbies to COS have left. Moving on to the story. This took place 2 sessions later from the whole Death House debacle. We made it to a village where we met Ismark and Irina. Irina, as it turned out, was a grown-up around Fi's age. Some of us kind of got a weird impression because Cloven was an elf and lived much longer than the rest of us, and he knew Irina as a child. Thus, we thought she was still a child. After making contact with the siblings, a new member joined the party. His name was Japa, and he was a Turtle Paladin of Torm. Japa was the backup character for Flipper's player. In the story, Japa had been in Barovia for a while and suffered a severe injury where he lost much of his memory. The surviving members of our group welcomed our new addition. We met Ismark and Irina and agreed to help them bury their father, who had died from fright when his home was attacked by wolves sent by Strahd to the house nightly. Strahd seemed to have a thing for Irina, but we didn't really know why just yet. So we helped carry the body to the churchyard the next morning to get the siblings' father laid to rest before we hit the road with Irina in tow. We make it to the church and meet with the priest there, Father Donovich. We have a nice ceremony for them, and we hold our own little funeral for Flipper. As we're heading back into the church to head for the manor before hitting the road with Irina, we hear screams coming from beneath the floor of the church. Ismark pulls us aside to explain that the screams we heard came from Donovich's son. That something happened to him months ago, and he hasn't been the same since. At first, Fi suspects that perhaps it is lycanthropy that has affected the son, but Ismark explains that it's not howling that has been coming nightly from the church. We all stay and debate over what to do next while the siblings get prepared for Irina to leave town in the morning. Our running theory is that the poor kid was possessed. And with both a cleric and a paladin on hand, we figured we could handle a demonic possession, and made our way to the basement of the church to help the poor kid out. We do this against Cassandra's better judgment, and Cloven and Japa take point as we go down through the trapdoor into the basement. We approach the kid cautiously, not sure what would happen. The fact that he's chained by the ankle doesn't escape our notice. Thus, we're even more cautious. Japa goes first to help the kid. He uses lay on hands. At first, we see this is starting to work. Then it backfires big time. It actually seems to have made him worse. In the dim light, we can make out that he has black nails and something glinting in his mouth. Cloven uses Eyes of the Grave and learns the kid is an undead. We regroup to talk about next steps. While we're debating, Doru, that's the kid's name, breaks free of the chain. Thus, combat begins in order to keep Doru from flying the coop and hurting the people of the village. We learn when he attacks Japa, he's some kind of vampire, via the fact that he drank Japa's blood. We go round and round in the basement with Doru, often grabbing poor Cassandra and biting him repeatedly. Eventually, when things look like they're going sideways, Fi uses Enlarge Reduce on Cassandra to make him bigger to catch Doru on the ceiling. This has the unfortunate effect of breaking the chapel floor. Doru runs out through the hole, and we scramble out after him. The final showdown happens outside the church. During the course of this madness, Fi used Wild Magic Surge, and our DM had a special table for Curse of Strahd, and what got rolled was that both her allies and enemies would be frightened of her for the next minute. So, in order to not have her allies being hampered by the effects of being frightened, she would pop in and out of a nearby bush to sling spells at Doru. The fight started going south, with everyone falling one by one to Doru, with Fi being the last man standing. With the last of her magical energy, she cast Firebolt, and Doru went up in flames. She passed out with a nosebleed alongside her friends, hearing the sound of the church bell ringing. The next day, we wake up to the bell still ringing, and decide it's best not to investigate that. We go straight to the manor and learn from Ismark that Irina left without us. So, we hightail it out of the village to go catch up to her. And that, my friends, is the end of this little tale. The takeaway here is, beware of wild magic tables, and when in Barovia, be prepared for vampires, or else you're in for a very rough time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that more hair-raising adventure of mine. If you did, leave a like, and maybe subscribe. And if you want to hear more of my time running around Strahd's backyard, let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.